Good afternoon and welcome to Zwift number 34. This is another Dirt Dadurday chase race, and this was 8 laps around the Neokyo crit course, which meant that we were going to be doing 31.8 kilometers of riding over 163 meters of incline, and we had 59 riders go over the start line in Group D, and there was around about 120 riders in total. So hoping that we can have a good race today. If you're not aware of the concept of this race, each category goes off at different times. The D's go off first, and then today's gaps meant that the C's went off 5 minutes after us, and then the B's went off a further 3 minutes after the C's, and then the A's, the final group, went off 2 minutes after the B, and which meant then that they would be 10 minutes behind us, and they hopefully can then catch us by the end of the race. So as you can see, we're off now, and there's around about 40 of us in our group. I'm 32nd currently, just about to come over the finish line for the alley sprint and get my first power up. So I've settled in quite nicely. The pace is quite hard. I couldn't remember it being as quick as this last week when I had quite a successful race in the same group last week, but settled in now. We've blobbed up a little bit on this slight incline. It's a pretty flat course. This was one of only 3 areas where there was a slight incline, and yeah, we're just settling in at the moment, hoping that we can all work together. I was reading somebody else's comments about how their race went in another category, and they were congratulating the D's on how well we'd done, because we appeared to work together really well, and you can see there's a good group of us here, all working together, no one really pushing it too hard, and apparently that's not what the C's were doing last week, so I don't know whether they're going to learn from that or improve on that this week and try and work together. There's a difference of opinion really in what the achievement of the race is all about. Some people are just talking about their category winning, other people are still just looking at their individual performance. So you can see I've just popped my first aero power up coming up that slight hill, and I've also got a feather in the bank as well after going through that last sprint section. So I've also decided, as this is another slight incline and I'm going to get another power up sooner or later, or quite quickly, I decided to pop it a little bit too late probably, as I'm getting right up to the top of the hill and the power up is still in use, but I used it anyway because I knew that I was going to be getting a new one quite soon. So we're a little bit stretched here. I'm feeling comfortable though. Group are working well together. You can see by going around all these bends that there's no other groups around us at the moment, and we'll just crack on and see how we get on from here. So jump forward 4 kilometers, just having a look forward. Nothing's really happened. This group's still working well together. We're a nice tight group coming up to the start-finish line. I think we've just gone over the start-finish line, and we're going to get another power up in a minute. And I think I take this opportunity, yeah, here we go, to just pan through the different groups. So we're in quite a big group. You can see I'm 29th there, and we panned back to 29th anyway. And I wasn't really able to find out too much. I saw a group behind us, but it didn't really tell me too much. So panned back to myself. I'm very conscious that a few times recently I have panned back and I've lost my position in the group and I've had to work quite hard. So yeah, nice and powerful. This was probably the steepest part of the course, and used plenty of power up there, but wanting to make sure that I didn't go off the front So just easing off here gently now, so that I can just stay in the draft of everybody else. I'm conscious of conserving energy because I think I'm using up too much energy. And as we come back down the hill on the other side, a few riders go past me. So I think we were about 30 in this group at the time, and we're just going to carry on moving through the laps and see how it takes us. So I've only fast forwarded about 3/4 of a kilometre here, just going to get another power up, but it's an important time every time we get around this part of the route, because you can see on the mini map who's coming up behind you, so you can have a good idea of how the race is going. So you can see as we turn this left-hand group, there's another group here, there they are, who are coming up behind me. Now I don't know the colours of all the teams. Obviously I know we're in yellow and we're in D, but I didn't know who those greens were, so I asked the question. Goodness knows what it meant by Callum. I speak into my messaging, and it then interprets my spoken language, and it came up with something to do with Callum, but I don't know. I didn't obviously mention Callum, but somebody commented that it was the Bs that were coming up behind us, so not the Cs but the Bs. So the Bs would have been a lap behind us, so despite the fact that they're going to go past us quite shortly, they were still being a whole lap behind us. So I think we're 5 laps to go now, and I make sure I pop my aero boost just before the finish line so I can take advantage of getting another aero boost. But you can see here come the Bs up behind us, and I'm thinking, well, the Bs are going to be a push too far for me to be able to stay with, and as they fly through, I'm assuming that all the rest of the Ds will also hang back. But that wasn't to be the case. The Bs went through, and a number of riders in the D category tried to tag on and use their draft, which is certainly a technique that you're supposed to exploit for the race, and you know, taking that advantage is something that you should be looking to do, but not from my point of view. With it not being the next category up, I just felt that I wasn't going to be able to stay with them for long. So I could see there's a few riders in front of me, and I just wanted to get up with them, really. It wasn't me trying to catch up with the Bs again. I'd obviously missed that opportunity. They've gone already. They're 7 seconds ahead. So just wanted to sit in with a front group, and you can see from the mini-map that they're going off into the future now. It says on 12th there's 5 riders there. 4 riders, 5 now. So there's about 8 riders who've gone off with the rest of the Bs, and yeah, so you know, if I can get a top 10 position now, that would be really good. But just I now start to settle in with this other group and just think that I'm not going to be able to catch that group in front. Yeah, so you can see from the mini-map, and by looking at the positions, there's 3 riders 7-8 seconds ahead of us there. DCAS, somebody by the name of Mayak, I think it was, and another name, Keith. They were out in front of us and pushing on hard, but were they going to come back to us? I'm not sure whether they were or not. Were they still pushing out and being able to stay out in front? Possibly. So there's a DCAT rider who's just stopped. I don't know if that's somebody who's a lap behind us, or whether that was one who found the pace by sitting with the Bs too hard, but I'm not sure. But here we go, 4 laps to go, getting another power up, using a power up just before the finish line. I'm wondering whether somebody's making a push for it here, so I just cover that place. I'm fourth in the group here, and feeling strong, feeling good, and looking forward to the last 4 laps, and not really having any thought that any of the other groups were going to catch us. I kept on looking at the mini map, and from what everybody was talking about in the chat, it didn't appear that any of the other groups were getting close to us. The A's hadn't gone past us either by this point, so the B's were still probably about 2/3, 3/4 of a lap behind us, and the A's were still a full lap behind us. I didn't really have an understanding of where the C's were, but like I said, from looking at the mini map, I couldn't see that they were close to us. So at this point you can see that the A's start to shoot past us. Here they are, you can see them in the mini map coming up tight up behind us. I can't imagine for 1 second any of the D's are going to try and catch hold of the tail of an A. Let's see what happens as they all go through. It does stretch us and we do increase our watts. You can see I'm suddenly at the back of our group of about 15-20 riders, but there are 2 who've gone, and whether they can sustain a breakaway from the rest of these D's will be seen. But no, within probably a couple of 100 metres, those 2 riders are back in with us again. I think one of them was Jay Salampi or Salampar from Finland, I believe that is. He came back with us. I'm not sure who the other one was. But you can still see those yellow blobs out in front going around the bends, about 3 bends up. Again, pushing up this slight incline. I feel strong, working hard. I go out the front. I don't want to be out the front, but it's where I found myself just by pushing on and just keeping myself in a good position. So 3 laps to go. B's have gone past us, A's have gone past us, but they're still just under a lap behind us. C's, we've got no understanding of where the C's are still. You can see from looking around the mini map now, you cannot see them between us and the start finish line. So fast forward another few kilometres because we just stayed together as a bunch, and I'm pushing here out the front just for one purpose. I'm just trying to work out how many more riders are ahead of us. So you can see that it says I'm 8th or 7th, so there's around about half a dozen riders in front in our category. What I had found since those B's went past us and some of the riders from the D's went with them was that they slowly came back to us, but there's still 6 of them out in front of us, holding on and doing a really good job. You can actually see some of them there going round a bend, 4 bends up. So just over 2 laps to go, and I'm aware that there's 6 riders in front. I'm not aware of the gap to how much that is, but we'll keep powering along. We'll keep using the draft of our group of Ds, and we'll also be able to work with the rest of the Ds and keep the communication going so that we can see or be able to talk about how far each of the C's, B's and A's are behind. So we're coming up to the, well, we've just gone past the finish line. That's just a sprint banner for the LA sprint. The finish line is a blue luminous banner over the top of the course. So we're just going up the hill here, and I just wanted to test out the other riders and see how everyone was getting on. This was going to be my plan for the next lap. This was where I was going to try and make a push for it to see if I could leave everybody. So just worked up the hill a lap before just to see what sort of impression I could make on everybody else, and whether there were other people who were willing to come past me. And yeah, you know, we're doing all right. The group is quite stretched, and if we had split at that point, I would have attempted to have carried on to the finish line because I was keen to get a top 8 position, because I'm aware those 6 riders are out in front. But somebody here commenting about the solo D rider is going faster than the A's, which clearly shouldn't be the case, and potentially might have you know, it wasn't the best of scenarios if somebody thought that a D category rider was stronger than an A, and somebody's commented there, Almeida commented that perhaps they're cheating, which is a shame because that doesn't help. But you know, it's nice to have a good competitive race. So I'm in 20th at the moment. There's only one rider behind me, so I'm looking at a top 20 finish no matter what. I have been finishing a little bit better, but I'm certainly not a sprinter. I just have a gradual increase in power in the last few kilometres, and that's what I'm planning to do this time. Like I said, 5.2 kilometres to go at this point. What I'm hoping to do on that incline just after the LA sprint is to put a bit of power down. I also went to see what sort of impact I'd have on the rest of the riders here, and I was watching the mini-map and thinking, well, again, if it splits, then we'll keep powering on. But it didn't appear that that was going to be the case. But I carried on pushing just in case if it did split at any second, because sometimes it can be just like an elastic band. You can be riding along, everybody's stretched out, and then all of a sudden a gap will appear and you'll be either in the front or the back of it, and so you always need to be conscious of that. One lap to go, there's the banner for it, and it's a nice little flat section here before we start to go up that slight incline, which is where I said I was going to push and continue to the finish line. 3.5 kilometers to go at the moment, and you know, what I'm hoping to do is just increase my power all the way to the finish line from here, because I can sustain that a lot better than I could a sprint. And what you do find is that most riders will increase the pace towards the end of the race. Somebody shoots off the front, so I want to follow them, M. Oshima, but he then instantly eases off and I'm stranded out in the front. But I need to push on, so because I want to try and bridge the gap. You can see how the gap is stretched. You can see that I've got Almeida just behind me, and they come past me also. Well, no, actually Brandenburg goes past me, and I'm thinking, great, I'll get in their draft and we'll power on and we'll keep that gap. We've opened up a good gap, 3 seconds to about riders about 8 places behind us. But Brandenburg eases off and gets into my draft. Almeida comes back past me, and I'm thinking, great, no, that's not going to happen either. So I'm still out in front. There's the 3 of us with about 15 riders all behind that, and I'm thinking, oh dear, this isn't working. My average watts is my watts that I'm kicking out are around about the same as my average watts, and you can see that they're all coming back together now, and my attempts to make a gap and create a gap and look at a top 7 finish, because I was 7th at the time, has failed. And here come the rest of the group who we'd opened up that 3-second gap. But at least I was able to stick with them for the time being. 1.4 kilometers to go. Going to get another power up here, and I'll see if I can stick with them. There's a slight incline up these hills here into the village. I quite like this incline. Somebody says D's 25 seconds in front. Yes, the D's were 25 seconds in front, but that wasn't the front group of D's. There was other riders in D's who were further out in ahead of us. You can see on the positions 43 seconds to Keith, who was definitely ahead of us. So here we are, we're starting to split a bit here. There's riders going off the front down to the final 0.6 kilometers. I'm putting out an okay average watts, I'm putting out good watts, and I'm up over 300 now. I'm not actually out of the seat here. I'm just trying to see if I can make any inroads with the rest of the riders, and there's more riders behind me than there is in front, so I'm really pleased with that. And I actually passed one on the line and end up finishing in 8th position, which I'm pleased with. That worked really, really well. So here's those final results. In 45 minutes and 53 seconds was Chong Ji, averaging 3.1 watts. Second was Ben Wolf. He was 43 seconds behind Chong Ji. Then third we had D Cass, who came in 2 minutes and 52 seconds behind second place. So you can see there was a huge gap between first and second and then third. They averaged 2.6 watts. Jay Geelan, he averaged 3.1 watts and was just a second behind D Cass. Then fifth was Keith, who was around 13 seconds behind Jay Geelan. Then sixth place we had Brandenburg. That was Dan Brandenburg, and he was 35 seconds behind Keith. And then we had in sixth position we had M Oshima, and they had a very similar time. They were just 6 seconds behind sixth place. I came in eighth in the same time as Oshima, and then we had Chris Hoosman, who had the same time as me as well, averaging 2.4 watts. Then Lucas Almeida came in the top 10. I'll conclude the updates there with the top 10. So pleased with that. The Ds took it again. I rode positively, quite a good average watts per kilogram, and a real good strong finishing position in 8th place. So hope to do the same ride again next week. I hope you can join. Please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't make any difference to you really, does it, if you did subscribe, and it helps my ego and it helps my algorithm. So thanks again, and catch you again soon. Bye.